1638.
Sometimes situations of challenge are great opportunities, and that's one of the inspiring lessons that I've learned. And there's actually an inspiring story that the two folks across from me here in the studio have to share with our listeners. A little Hanukkah jingle. We've got Shana Erenberg and Max Dayan of the Libenu Foundation here with me in studio. So there was a little situation that happened on Dayan Avenue, a situation where some funds that were designated for an important organization that all of us know and love were taken. And what happened?
Well, Libenu this year was the beneficiary of the Chicago Women Charity Players production of The Music Man. And we had the show on Sunday. They had a lot of receipts. It was almost sold out. And Chani Belsky took the funds with her to head home. She made a stop at the girls' school, and I think she was in the school for maybe 5 minutes when her car was broken into, and everything, her purse, all the funds, everything stolen, gone. I think we were just filled with such despair. We didn't know, would we recoup these funds? First, of course, we were worried about Chani and what had happened, and thankful that nobody was hurt. And the next morning, they called Regine Schlesinger, and the story ran on the radio, and an individual heard about it and called up and made a donation to cover the funds. And then the story was picked up on the radio later on the day and on Channel 5 and on Channel 2. And as the story ran more and more, the community really stepped up to the plate.
And the donations came in, and the production was to benefit the Libenu Foundation.
Yes.
What is the Libenu Foundation?
So Libenu is a not-for-profit organization that serves Jewish adults with disabilities. We provide housing, kosher housing, and vocational training for adults with developmental delay.
And interesting, very, very, very important mission for a very important organization. But is this a new need that popped up, or is this sort of a long overdue answer to or solution?
Well, we started in 2009 because there really wasn't anything in Chicago. People were leaving the community, moving elsewhere, New York, East Coast, and it was a need that we had in our community. It was coming up in other communities around the country, but really in Chicago, we were lagging behind.
So how many young adults are served by the Libenu Foundation and your housing?
Currently, we have 17 young adults living in 3 homes. We're about to open up our 4th home. We have a very long waiting list because it's difficult to get funding. It's difficult to get a home off the ground. But our goal is really to serve everybody we possibly can, everybody who needs this type of housing, every family, every young man and young woman.
And by a home, you mean that the houses are fully staffed, and you mentioned kosher. You're saying fully staffed with food and all the services that come along with it? Yes.
So we partner with Clearbrook, which is an agency that provides this type of housing in Illinois. But Libenu is unique because, again, the homes are kosher. They are absolutely beautiful homes. They're homes that anybody would be proud to live in. They're designed with individual special needs in mind, so they, the handles and the hallways and everything is accessible. We also have a philosophy of inclusion, so we work very hard with the community for our young men and women to be fully included in synagogue life, at the JCCs, to people's homes on Shabbat, and the communities have been very, very welcoming, really open their hearts to Libenu.
Once again, we're talking with Shana Erenberg and Max Dayan of the Libenu Foundation. And really, you are entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurs often people equate with business, but you're entrepreneurs creating an idea in the nonprofit community and growing that idea. So like any entrepreneur, our listeners are always trying to think about, as I just discussed with Bruce Lee, on how are you going to make 2015 an even bigger, an even better year. Max, can you tell us the growth plans for 2015?
Absolutely. I'm glad you asked that question. So some of the things we're talking about, how we are a new organization. It started almost just 5 years ago. We just had an anniversary. And you start out with a vision that came out of a dire need. It was right there and then. And they came up with a 5-year plan at the time. I only got involved personally with the organization about 2 years ago. But we've just been sitting down and saying, we reached our 5-year goal in 4 years. What are we going to do next? And one of the important things we're discussing is to always focus on that plan. You want to make sure you always have your 2-year vision, your 5-year vision, and your 10-year vision, and to sit down and focus and make sure you stay focused on your goals, but always developing them. So if you reach them, you know what you're going to do next.
So does that goal include new housing as well?
it doesn't just include new housing, it also includes a more inclusive model of housing, whereas maybe instead of just making a home, we can have an apartment complex where you'd have both individuals with disabilities as well as your typical families living in these homes, and also having each other over for meals, inviting each other for holiday parties, but really reaching the borders of what you can think of inclusion and stretching them.
And my advice for listeners is always get involved in community, become known as a giver. And that's one thing that I found fascinating about the Chicagoland community is that people are so giving, whether they're supportive financially, they're supportive with resources, but they're also willing to volunteer. Can you tell us a little bit about the community involvement in the Libenu Foundation? You obviously discussed the production, but I know there's so much more.
Sure. So we've got members of the community that come to the homes to do classes, both in Judaics and in secular activities, arts and crafts, yoga. We have community members that invite our residents into their homes. We're having a big Hanukkah party tomorrow night. I think we have 120 people coming, mostly from out in the community, to join us for pizza and latkes and dreidels and a good time. And there really is an endless opportunity to get involved. We can get involved on our Young Leadership Board. People can get involved in coming to help our residents. Most importantly, people can get involved by offering positions, jobs. We're always looking for opportunities for our young men and women to go to work.
That's big. There's so many ways for people to get involved, and it is so important that people can get involved. There's obviously a financial benefit, end of the year, donations. So Shana and Max, how can people get involved? How can people contact the Libenu Foundation?
Absolutely. You can find us at Libenu Foundation, LIBENU.org, or info@libenufoundation.org, or you can call us at 847-982-0340, extension 227.
Fantastic. Once again, Shana Erenberg, Max Dayan of the Libenu Foundation, thanks for joining us on Get Down to Business. After the break, we are going to be talking about planning the perfect holiday party. Happy holidays to everyone.
I'm Pete.